Join. Hey, Ralf. I was just doing a short introduction.
Hey,
Hey,
Marcus.
hey, hey. Uh, so, just a short introduction of this session. Yet again, this is me, Marcus, aka the Graveloholic. I will interview Ralf Eggert today, and we are going to talk about wheels. And this is going to be super, super interesting. Reason why I have these sessions, as a short recap for you who haven't joined before, is basically that I'm honestly I'm a newbie cyclist. I'm a mid-pack rider. I'm nothing super special. And I was thinking about how can I get so many questions from you guys basically. And how would I be able to ever answer all of those? I can't answer that. And I always answer everyone. Like, I'm not the expert, but I can give you my advice anyways. But so I was thinking, what can I do about that? Yeah, let's ask the experts. So here I am with Ralf this time talking about wheels. And to be honest, I have done so many mistakes. I think I want to start with that thing, Ralph, and I might have to excuse myself because I remember first time that we talked, I asked you guys sort of where you're from. I don't know if you realized that time when we met the first time.
You said
dtswiss that you work for, right? This is
you
a
asked
Swiss company, so
for
I
Germany,
kind of
yeah?
should have known.
Are you living in Germany? That was the question.
That was the question, yes,
No.
which was kind of stupid, but here I am, and that's the kind of mistakes that I do. So here I am, doing someone knows a little bit more than these things about me.
Thank
So
you
hey, Ross,
for
how are you today?
inviting. Your hater Ralf, huh? For the Swedish-speaking people here. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ralf.
How do
Yeah,
you
my
pronounce
name is
it?
Ralf. Yeah. Yes, I thought I
Yeah,
was.
yeah. Ralf. Exactly. I mean, Ralf is a pretty, or used to be a pretty common Swedish name as well. So I have a
Yeah.
lot of Ralfs
No.
that I know, and not Ralph that you
Exactly,
say in
yeah.
English, right?
No, it's been a really cool summer so far. I think the autumn is also very nice. We have really nice light at the moment, so it's awesome to ride outside. And I think you ride also
Yeah.
you enjoy also the rides. I've seen you riding today, and looks also beautiful in Sweden currently.
Yeah, it's been so amazing. This last part of
Yeah,
the summer has been so amazing, and just like today being outside, I was outside quite late with my son today as well, and just see the sunset and everything. It's
beautiful.
quite spectacular this time of year around. Yeah, but hey, you work for this amazing company, dtswiss. Tell me a little bit about just dtswiss. Not that maybe that's first. I just actually want to know a little bit more about you first before we talk about the company. So what kind of bike do you? You have probably several bikes. So which one is your favorite and why? Oh no, now we lost him a little bit. Let's see. He's coming back, hopefully. Waiting for Ralph to reconnect. I hope it's not my connection though. Might be, but you never know. So this part after, I can tell you this, guys. So if you can't join the whole session, you can always watch this afterwards as well. Um, you can watch it afterwards on YouTube. You can just search for Graveloholic, and you'll find me. You can listen to it as well, both on Spotify and on Apple Podcast. So the sessions that I've done before, and this one, and everything in the future will also be available
What a great start,
on
huh?
all those. No, it's okay. I got the opportunity to actually say something that I forgot to say earlier. So about all folks. So all good. Yeah, my question was basically, I assume that you have several bikes, but which one is your
Yeah,
favorite and why?
you can assume that I was a little bit more than roadie, and my passion is comes from triathlon, so I'm a speed on speed disciplines, and I would say that I'm currently more a roadie than a gravel cyclist, but I picked up gravel cycling in the past 2, 3, 4 years, also within Corona, because the roads were just congested and it was crowded, and I realized that it's nicer to ride outside, and we have so much good opportunities to ride off road, and I can commute to the company to work, but I can also go just out in the nature, go for a little ride, with kids, as you mentioned as well. It is good to have just a short ride, not always a really long ride. So I wouldn't prefer going on
Yeah,
a long trip, but actually
yeah,
currently, I would say more road. In autumn, I will turn more to a gravel cyclist.
yeah. That's kind of funny because there's a lot of people that do that. They spend the summer season riding road, and then the autumn when the gravel roads are starting to get muddy and dirty, then they go on the gravel roads. And I'm like, you should do it the other way around. It's much smarter. You should ride on the road because you get less dirty
Yeah,
in the winter time.
I always think about the winter that is that I'm facing. In the winter, you have much more stronger winds, and so I can hide in the woods, and which I don't do in the summer. So I'm preferring in the summer to ride more in the sunlight on dry roads and a little bit more faster. In the winter, speed doesn't matter for me, but still I like to go fast.
Yeah. You're excused, Ralph. It's okay. But I just want to say that any bike is a gravel bike, so you can take your tri bike as well on the gravel. But maybe we're going to speak about that in a little bit, why
we should
that's not
talk
the
about this
best
later
idea.
on. If there has been one mistake you've been doing.
Yeah. So let me know. You're working for dtswiss. I mean, for me, when I bought my first bike, I bought a Canyon Grail some 4 years ago, and that had dtswiss wheels on it. And I did not know basically anything about bikes at that point in time. So I was just pure lucky that I bought a bike that had a very good aluminium wheel set on it. But tell me, where is dtswiss coming from? Not physically then, but sort of the history.
We might have, yeah.
And yeah, tell me a little bit about the company,
We
what
might
it's all
have
about.
talked about this before, but I think the audience might be interested as well. So the company was originally founded in 1994, so almost 30 years now, where dtswiss has been located in Biel, Bienne, so in the Swiss part, in the French and German-speaking part of Switzerland. But the origin is much more earlier, so more than 300 years ago. The Vereinigte Drahtwerke, where the ancestors of everything was together with steel wire in Biel. And so there's a history of more than 300 years inside Biel, and this has been also turned into dtswiss at the end. By 1994, the management buyout with spoke machines that turned into dtswiss later on. And D and T means actually the same. It's Drahtwerke or Tréfileries, which is the French name for Drahtwerke. So
Ah, I didn't know. I did not know that, so thank you. I was going to ask you
so
that actually, so thank you.
within 30 years,
Where it comes from.
I wouldn't say that we are a dinosaur in bike history or in the bike industry, but somehow quite long already in the industry.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So, what talking about gravel, and that has been an evolving scene for quite some time, right? And there's so many different new things happening, and there's so many different new kind of genres of gravel. But where do you see you work in this industry, right? So, where do you see gravel and also other kind of sort of cycling going?
Gravel is what is gravel? I mean, we should talk about where can you locate gravel? You say, okay, I can go on a triathlon bike in gravel, but it's such a big thing. You don't know where to put it. Is it more mountain bike? Is it more racing? Is it somewhere in between? But I think in the past years we have been seeing that this versatility of a bike is so important, so nice for the people, so they can choose where they go, if they want to go on the road, if they want to go off-road, if they even want to go at a little bit tougher, rougher roads, or if they just want to bike pack. And that's all gravel. I mean, it's lycra versus the lumberjack shirt. This is everything which plays inside this the scenery. And it's has been I think quite
Yeah,
successful
no,
story.
it's
Also for the gravel industry and for the road industry.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's so true because there's so many people as well when they ask me about stuff like what kind of wheels should I have, what kind of tires should I have, I'm like that depends on how you want to ride and where you want to ride, right? Is it how big portion is it that you're riding on tarmac? How big portion is it that you're riding gravel? And is it fire roads? Is it like big gravel? Is it nice gravel? Is it fast gravel? What kind is it? Are you adventure packing? What is it? It's so many different things that you need to take into context. And I'm not the expert on all of those things. I just know what I like.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And so you like actually fast
Um,
gravel riding, don't you?
yeah, I do. I do. And that's kind of my niche. I'm not that fast, but I try to look fast at least. So
You do this 100%.
no, but let's talk about we can talk about fast in a little bit, but if we talk about sort of, if we still want to sort of home in on gravel, it's a big thing, right? But if we talk about gravel specific wheels, what is the sort of, if you want to choose, if you want to look at wheels, right? I could take my road bike on gravel, right, as we said. But what are the specificities that we should look into when choosing wheels, and what's more specifically more things that you need to think about
Well,
for
when you talk
gravel?
about gravel wheels, then we talk about more sturdy wheels. So what you actually do is you're not riding on this on the soft surface of road, which is normally we use like a classification. It's called ASTM class 1, which is for a smooth surface of road riding, and for gravel riding we have to go a bit deeper. So we have to make them more sturdy, the wheels. They have to also accept some drops, so little drops. And actually, they came from the cyclocross racing sport. So these are the same demands, the same needs that are fulfilled within the bikes, also in the wheels. So ASTM class is one thing, but also you have to cope with a little bit more weight depending on what you do. If you're just a pure racer, then the weight of your bike and yourself, the system weight we're talking about, is something which don't need to be really high because you're a tiny person, whatever. But once you start doing bike packing, for example, you load your bike up. The bike is a little bit more heavy. You have more accessories on it. You have more bottles on it with water. You easily exceed 100 or 120 kilograms, very easy. And this will have also a demand of a higher system weight. So there's two things. We have to make them more sturdy to accept like a
Yeah.
little bit drops and a little bit uneven surface. But we also have to see that there's certain requirements from the weight perspective. Plus, then we also add having more comfort and also reliability of the components that you use. So everything plays into it. When we talk about the comfort, we come to tires, we come to internal rim width, but we will talk probably later on this. But this is actually something which
Yeah.
will be required if we are talking about gravel wheels.
Yeah, but let's we can talk about rim width now. I think it's because that's related to comfort, right? I think there's a lot of people that they maybe do not realize, or they don't understand sort of how big of a difference it actually makes with the rim inner width. So can we talk a little bit about that, when what the difference makes
So for
for the
dtswiss,
tires?
we define like the optimal rim inner width as 24 millimeters. So which is the internal width. So this is measured between the hooks. This is where we measure the internal width. So 24 millimeters means that the tire can expand quite well. If you have like a very tiny rim, which in old style, we might have only like 18 millimeters or even less sometimes, even with disc brake. That means that the tire would be more compressed and then looks like a lollipop. So you can imagine having a lollipop on the stick, and this is really a round shape, and this would require another more tire pressure to get the tire wall stability. So when you have like
Hmm.
you need tire wall stability to ride really well through the corners. If the tire wall is not stable enough because of less pressure, then it could lead to uncertain cornering. So what we then see with 24 millimeters larger
Hmm.
rim inner width, you will not require too high pressure, even without with putting maybe 45 or up to 50, 53 millimeters of tires onto the bike. Or does it answer it?
And that's very interesting. That's very interesting because I just myself scanning the industry and seeing that this feels like the inner width is something that more or less everyone is talking about now, and they're trying to push the boundaries and just making bigger and bigger. Do you think will we see even wider inner width when it comes to gravel, or have we found sort of the sweet spot now, do you think?
No, we started in 2019 with gravel. and we defined then the 24 millimeters as optimal. And having continued developing rims, and we just launched new gravel rims like 1 month ago, and we still see that the 24 millimeters is optimal. If we move up the internal rim width, it means also the external rim width would grow. Then you have larger tires, and this would require a different frame. And then welcome to mountain biking. So I think the industry will
Yeah.
the industry is simply not ready for this if you make them wider. And I think it is still, I think it's more road than and less mountain bike. If you want to go mountain biking, then put bigger tires on it. This will you have like 25 30 millimeters of rim inner width, which we also have in our assortment of mountain bike wheels. But you won't get them in normal frames. So the tires will be blowing up, and then we have another problem of clearance inside the frames. And it took the industry already 3-4 years to adapt the frame geometry, also the sizing of the frame, the clearance of the frame, to have everything inside, and also have enough clearance around the tire. So you need like 4 millimeters tire clearance to have a safe running. So even though the tire gets some mud, gets some stones, you don't damage your frame. And so when gravel started, we came from cyclocross racing. Cyclocross was limited to 33 millimeters, so you exactly knew what clearance you will need in the frame. But suddenly everybody said, okay, now let's do 30, 35, 38, 40, 45, and suddenly okay, this frame doesn't fit. So this is what happens. So there's a slowly adaptation, but I think that we are sitting well in the tire sizing of 40 to 45 millimeters, depending on what you do. If you're running faster, you will require a less wide tire. If you're going for more comfort, 650B or bike packing, then a larger tire, a wider tire will lead to more comfort, combined with less tire pressure.
Yeah. But that's interesting. You're saying that your recommendation is 4 millimeters
No, it's not a recommendation. It's a norm, actually. Yeah.
It's a norm. Okay, I've had less, I think.
I do not define this for bike frames.
Yeah, no, but I think that, and that now I again sort of am very blunt and honest with how I've set up my bike, and I definitely ridden with less than 4 millimeters, and but it's been working to some extent.
It's working, but it's
also been It is definitely, but it depends on which part that has that clearance as well. It's my personal assumption, at least. But should we talk a little bit about the tire as well? Kind of how do I choose like an optimal tire versus the rim that I have, the wheel that I have? How do you recommend people to think about
specialist. That? You might know.
No, I know. But we can talk about one thing. We can talk about one thing that yeah. But we can talk about one thing that is interesting, because when I myself was looking for wheels, right? I was looking for I was into dtswiss when when I was choosing my wheels, and I was looking, and then I was choosing between 650 and 700C, right? And we were going to talk about the difference there a little bit, but the interesting thing there, I think, there was some diagram on the webpage, and there was some, according to the aerodynamics, that if you had a too wide of a tire, you lose sort of the aero gains of the wheel. So can we speak about that, sort of how the relationship in between the tire and the wheel, maybe? That's something that we could,
exactly. So
if you have any insights to share.
It's around the surface. So when I say, okay, we're not an expert in tires, but which does not mean that we do not measure tires and do not test tires, because we want to make sure that the products are compatible to different tire manufacturers, so the biggest tire brands. But one thing you touch on is the aerodynamics, and this is really true. So when we started developing these The carbon rims in 2019 they were released, so we started the development earlier. We also choose to work with Swiss, an expert in aerodynamics, and there we also tested different sizes of tires and also different types of tires. So as soon as you start to, then you surely lose, due to the turbulence of the tire, a lot of aerodynamics. So even though the frontal area is remains small, it doesn't mean it means that you still lose some aerodynamics. So we tested everything from a slick tire towards a knobby tire, and then you see the differences. So depending on what you do, and as you said, I want to go speed, I want to do a fast gravel ride, I want to go then use the I series with 30 kilometers average and above. That means that in the worst case, you can have, from the frontal drag area, you can have maybe 20 watts more of power you have to put onto the pedal to achieve the same speed, only from the frontal drag. And there are also influences from the side winds, from crosswinds. So the crosswinds also affect then the aerodynamics. And then we're talking about the sailing effect, which also gives you a little push. But as soon as you have more knobby tires on your rim, it means you destroy a lot of your aerodynamic. And so this is why the beginning was 35 millimeters of tire width. And this still works the best. So as soon as you make it a little bit wider, you lose in aerodynamics. But we also see that the tire industry and there are some manufacturers, I would name them now, but everybody knows them. They're really working on the speed gravel tires, and they have been really successful in the past. Not only from the perspective of fitting, but also from the perspective of aerodynamics. And this affected.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear that it's as much as 20 watts. That's because that can make a big difference, especially when you're riding for a couple of hours in a race or so. But the one thing that is interesting for me when I chose the 650s in comparison, that's where I think there's a little bit of people assume that just because you go 650 you're slow, and to my understanding, or what I have experienced at least, is that with the bigger tire, if it's not too knobby, as you say, you still get a fairly sort of cushion effect, which means that you're not losing. You can go much smoother, which means that you can put down more power and you don't get as fatigued as well. So that's kind of how I reason when I think that when I'm riding 650B in comparison to 700.
Completely right what you're saying. So this is a part of the rolling resistance idea, and so this is why we are talking also about setting the wheel tubeless. If you're doing the wheel tubeless, that means that you need less energy to move the tire. So if you're rolling over a little stone, it means you don't have to go this extra centimeters up the stone and down the stone where you lose energy. You just roll over it, and the tire is just smooth, taking the smooth onto it. But I think this is a compromise you have to take. If you say, okay, 650D is my wheel choice, and you go with a larger tire, so there's a compromise always between aerodynamics and the comfort, and you don't exactly know what is my rolling resistance. How is my rolling resistance going down if I'm riding 50 or 50 plus tire compared to a 40 tire with maybe 0.5 bar more of tire pressure. It is really, really tricky, and I don't have the answer right now. It's trial and error.
No. And another problem that I realized, I mean, the benefit of running 650B is that you get slightly less diameter, which means that you have actually more tire clearance. Because when I now set up my existing bike with 700C and some specific tires, I could not fit them because they were too big for my bike. And I of course, the biggest problem was that I have a 2x setup. Luckily, there might be a new bike coming tomorrow, so let's see if that's going to be a 1x or not. So I'm going to have more experience from that. So I'm really looking forward to that. But hey, Ralf, what what about the hubs itself? I mean, dtswiss is super known. I've heard so many people talk about dtswiss hubs. What is the difference with dtswiss hubs in comparison to everyone else's?
When we started in 1994, it was about the spokes. In 1995, we added a hub system, a free hub system. It was called dtswiss. And the wheelie system is actually our free hub system, which is working with with a ratchet system. So what you have is like you have ratchets that engage simultaneously, depending on the amount of teeth this ratchet has, between 18 and 54 teeth you have. There you can simultaneously engage. And for the viewers, I bought a ratchet here, so you can see this is a
Oh, you have it there.
this is an 18
Ah,
18 teeth,
exactly.
and compared to this is a 36. So these are the ones we have, and they
Oh,
engage. Oh, wrong side. This one here. So and they engage simultaneously when they turn, and so it's very simple. Also brought some exciting stuff here. So
nice.
so when the free hub, that's the free hub, and when it spins and makes this sound, you can't maybe hear it right now because it's well greased, but you can take it off, and then you see that this ratchet system is right sitting behind the cassette, sitting here. So you have two ratchets inside, whoop, and these ratchets, they engage. So when they engage and you push the pedal, then everything is fine. You don't hear any sound. As soon as you stop pedaling, it means this typical ratchet sound comes on. So in this case, we have 18 teeth on it. It's not very loud. When you have like a carbon wheel, then it's getting louder. If you have a 36 teeth ratchet, it's getting even louder. And so you have been experienced this. You have been experienced probably the aluminum and also the carbon stuff. So this is very unique for us. And it's now also included in all the wheels. So we don't have any wheels with the so-called three-pole free up system in our program anymore.
Yeah, people tend to like listening to the freewheel sound when the ratchet sort of engage or disengages against each other.
Exactly. Yeah, they ask me, how can I make it louder?
But
How can I make it louder?
what?
Yeah, you take off the grease, but
Yeah,
it's
remove
not
the
the idea
grease.
of degreasing,
Yeah,
because you will come
it's
to
not good.
premature wear of the ratchet. So these are steel ratchets that turn against each other, and the higher the speed, so the more drag you will have, and also
Yeah,
the more premature wear you can will arise. So this is why we have to regrease
yeah,
it and do a little service of the free up system. But this is what the dtswiss is
exactly.
known for, and thanks God we are now having in all wheels the same free hub system, ratchet and ratchet exp. So they're a little bit different naming and different concepts, but in generally it's about engaging of two ratchets. Very reliable.
Yeah, I mean, now I need to be honest again and transparent here, right? So I mean, I'm new to cycling, and I'm not a bike mechanic in any kind of way. I'm an engineer, so I know my stuff, but nonetheless, taking apart the Swiss hub is super simple. You don't need any tools even. It's crazy. But here comes the funny thing: the grease. I put the wrong grease on the ratchet system the first time, and I actually did it twice. So that's a big mistake
I
of
think
mine.
I remember seeing this video of you saying, no, it's the wrong
Yeah,
grease you put on. No,
yeah,
we don't have any tutorials on dtswiss YouTube channel. Surely everything is visible on YouTube channel of dtswiss, and there you can find a lot of tutorials about how to service and how to make a quick service, a small service, and
yeah.
it's not a rocket science. It's just you have to have the right grease, take it off, clean it, put it
No,
together, and that's it. Very simple.
yeah. It's super impressive, that system. I'm completely blown away because I was thinking now I'm gonna need all these
No,
tools, but no, you just
if
pull it
you're lost
apart and just
if you're lost,
clean it, put the right
exactly.
grease, and put it
If you're
back
lost in the
together.
middle of nowhere, you can just make a small service if you have the grease with you.
And how often should I do that? What's your
Depending
recommendation
on where
there?
you ride, how you ride, and how long you ride. So if
Mm,
you're riding more in gravel-related areas, there's a lot of dust around. So usually it's already sealed. It's quite well sealed, but there's a possibility that always dust is coming into the system, into this closed system. And so I would recommend doing twice a year, depending on the mileage of the kilometers you're doing. If you're doing a lot of kilometers, like 10,000, I'm not sure if you're capable of doing this, if you have enough time. But I would say twice is good. Have a look into the system, clean it, re-grease it, and that's it. And if you have a little tube of 20 grams, I think it's called dtswiss special grease, it will last for around 100 wheels, rear wheels. I mean, you don't have to grease the front wheel.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. That's exactly. You don't need that much. That's
10
really good.
invested euro or the currency you're working with.
Exactly. Yeah, I've had people message me that, oh, I broke my wheels and my hubs are broken down or something like that. I'm like, what did you do with them? But there's one other part that is quite interesting to me to wheels as well, and that's the spokes. I mean, every wheel has spokes, right? And how do you think about like this is so interesting to me, like spoke count? There's even flat spokes; they're not round anymore. What goes into the
Well,
spokes?
you can also take round spokes, which is not a problem. We are specialists in spokes, as you know. So we produce each day a lot of spokes, and the special spokes are all made in Switzerland. And this means that we have double-butted spokes, so they're reduced spokes where the diameter is reduced in the middle. And this means with a reduced diameter, you have a little bit more tensile strength. You have it's going to be condensed. The steel is condensed. This is one thing. But as you also mentioned, the steel spokes on aero spokes, you won't exactly see it. Yeah, maybe you can see it here. So these are already aero spokes. In all our road wheels, we have aero spokes in it. It's called aerocomb. In this case, it's aerocomb white spokes. And then these are once more forged. They're flat forged. And this means that you have less rotational drag as well. But also like the button spokes, or like the reduced spokes, it means they're more the condensation of the spokes means higher tensile strength. So besides the aerodynamic gain, which is a little bit of gain, you also have a much stronger spoke, and this is why we believe that for disc brake wheel, 24 spokes is enough for a bio bike. So as soon as you take a motor into account, then we put up the spoke count as well. So this is also one thing we do. But
so all the e-bikes,
yeah,
they have
we
more spokes.
there you have like to think about the torque of the motor. So the torque is giving you some extra torque, and the torque is applied through the pedal. However, the motor is working over the chain, onto the cassette, onto the free-up body, and the next thing is the ratchet system and plus the hub shell. So, and this is where the bending is starting. So as soon as you have the torque on the hub shell, it means there's something happening in the middle of the wheel. This is why we are not adjusting that. We don't need to adjust the rim, so we don't make the rim sturdier or heavier, but we increase the number of spokes by the gravel. So
Okay, interesting.
it's called HD 1800 gravel wheel. It allows up to 140 kilograms of system weight and has 28 spokes. So if you're thinking about even not a bio bike, if you just say, okay, I'm riding in the nature, doing bike packing, but I have a lot of luggage because I'm traveling through the Antarctic or whatever I do from North America to South America, and I need a lot of weight. So these are probably your wheels you can rely on over the whole journey.
So I was fortunate enough to try out the new GR 1600 wheels now, aluminium wheels. But should we? So can we speak a little bit about what sort of when if I come and I want to choose a pair of wheels, looking at sort of aluminium versus carbon primarily, what do I need to consider when I do
So
that? What's the differences?
do you want to go? if you really want a cool looking set, I would say, okay, go for carbon. If you want to be fast, go for carbon. The carbon rims are definitely aerodynamically optimized, as we talked about it. A higher rim means you can have higher speed, less aerodynamic drag. So also with increasing speed, the drag slows you down, because the aerodynamic drag is the drag that really is growing over proportionally with the speed, while the rolling resistance and the weight doesn't matter anymore, but the speed and the aerodynamic drag really matters. So this is where you have to consider: am I a speed guy? Do I really need this wheel set if I'm riding fast races? If I really want to enjoy this, then go for the carbon. If you need like a sturdy set, all round set, a commuter set, then aluminum set is really a good choice. And since we have now all the wheels in with a ratchet system, I think there is almost no difference between the free up system. There's a little bit of difference in terms of the rims. So the rims of the GR 1600, they are welded, while the rims of the entry level set is sleeved. So this is a little bit of difference. So this makes a little bit more of weight, but in general, aluminum set can be very sturdy, and for commuting, for riding, for training, it's perfect. So it's up to you where you use it. I wouldn't say a bike packer would need a carbon wheel set.
Yeah, okay, got you. Oh, understood. Well, thank you so much, Ralf. This was super interesting. Love all the details. Then I got to learn a few things as usual when talking to people like you. So I'm more than happy that you joined me. So what's your next ride? Is it going to be commuting to work tomorrow, or do you plan to do something different?
No, I will be here at home office actually tomorrow, and we had a community ride yesterday. We're launching a set of aero aluminum wheels today, and for dtswiss. So the first time we're having aluminum wheels, aerodynamically optimized, and they were launching today. And yesterday we had a a social lounge ride, I would call it. I was dropped, so I'm still a little bit how would I say, a little tired of it. So I make another rest day, but there might be a little bit rolling outside on the roads tomorrow, but easy, very easy.
But quickly, now I got interested. What are these aluminum wheels? Are they specifically road wheels,
yeah,
or and a little bit higher profile then, or?
We try to make an aerodynamic profile for aluminum wheels, but this is very difficult. So when you try to optimize and you make aerodynamic wheels, then you usually think about 40 millimeters, 35, 45, 50 millimeters of rim height. But in this case, when you go up with a rim height on an aluminum wheel, this means it picks up a lot of weight. So we try to make it a really good compromise, a really good looking compromise on a 30 mil rim height that almost looks like a carbon wheel set when you have a look, and you wouldn't say, okay, this is aluminum wheel. And but we work with our aerodynamic partner Swisside, and they were optimized by CFD simulation, and later on we also confirmed this in the wind tunnel, and they're actually our fastest aluminum wheel sets in dtswiss, and we figured out about 1.7 watts of gain, which doesn't sound that much, but for a low profile rim, it's quite a lot. You can imagine.
It is indeed. Wow, very cool. Thank you very much for sharing those news. Again, thank you very much. All you that have been listening, you can always re-listen to this on Instagram. You can also look me up on YouTube, or you can listen to it on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Just search for Graveloholic and you will find this. So by saying that, thank you very much, Ralf, and have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.